Hey folks, welcome back to another review with yours truly, Sam Healey, right here on the Dice Tower. Thanks for joining us. Today we're going to be taking a look at Distant Suns. This is a interspecific verb /and/right game where you're basically trying to explore the different and the various reaches of the universe. And it's got artwork by Vincent Dutrait. It's put out by Iello. Gary Kim and Yeon-Min Jung are the designers. Let's get down to the table and take a look, shall we? And so here I have a 4-player game of Distant Suns set up for you, and just a couple of things to note. There are these different shapes that are going to be used throughout the course of the game. The game does come with 10 different shapes, so these are the shapes that are being used in this particular game that I have set up, and then these are the ones that are not being used for this particular game. So there is a little bit of variability right there. The shapes are randomly distributed at the beginning of the game, and then the mission tiles that are going to accompany those shapes are also randomly determined by one side, and then they're just simply mirrored by the other side. So take that for what it's worth. There is also one shape, the black hole, that is always available no matter what the random dispersion of those other shapes are. So keep that in mind. Now the game does come with a whole pad of these sheets that are going to be used for each of the different players, and it has on it the space that they're going to be exploring. You have a starting spot right here where you have to start building out from. Then you have some other distant suns, you want to use those words, or distant worlds that are kind of make a race mechanism for the game. And then you have all of the different areas over here that you're going to be using to tabulate your score at the end of the game. Now the game's going to happen in 3 rounds, and each round is going to consist of 4 or 5 different actions for everybody. And that's denoted by these choice templates. I guess I'll just call them the choice templates here. And you'll notice that they have a 1, a 2, a 3, a 4, and 5. So basically this is just how many times you're going to be able to choose different actions on the board, and then you'll go from there. So the active player is chosen, the book says it's the youngest person, and they will take in place their the number 1 template. Now, when they place this template, they're going to take these 2 little divots here, and they're going to put them into 2 divots that are somewhere on the board. Now, when they do that, they're going to be choosing that shape for themselves, and then everybody else is going to do the other shape. So if I put it right here like this, and I'm the first player, that means that I want to put this shape on my player board, but everybody else is going to be able to put this shape on their player board. Now, these little templates are double-sided, so if I really wanted this one, I could also do that, and then everybody else would do that, or I could just simply move it down like this, and I could choose this one and everybody else would get this one. So there's a lot of choice that's involved in here. You're choosing not just the shape that you're wanting to put on your board, you're also choosing the shape that everybody else is going to be able to put on their board. So, for example, if I chose to put this one, then I would be taking this shape right here, which is this one right here, and then I have to start from my starting spaces, one of these 3 spaces that are adjacent to my Colonial Viper. We'll talk about that in just a few moments. But I'm going to choose where I can put it onto my sheet as well. So I have freedom as far as that's concerned. So if I wanted to do something like this, if I wanted to do something like that, I could. You could also flip it around and twist it any way you want to. It does have to fit into those actual shapes though. So that's what I would be doing. Then everybody else would be taking this one and doing the same thing on theirs. These are only to help you get the proper shape in there. If you can eyeball it, you can absolutely not use these, and it's just there for your help. Now, once I've drawn that, on my board and everybody else has drawn it on their board, the second player becomes the active player, and now they're going to take the number 2 template here and they're going to choose where they want to go. Maybe they want to draw the black hole on theirs. Maybe that's what they want to do. Maybe they want to do something like this then, where that would actually be the same thing. Maybe they want everybody else to have to draw a black hole. I don't know. But basically, they will be able to do that. The second player, who is the active person, will draw a black hole. Everybody else will be able to draw this one. And this continues to go that way until, let's say, the third person goes there, and the fourth person goes here, and then there's a fifth person. But as you might be able to tell here, you might get to a point where there isn't. For example, if I had gone here like that, this fifth template would not be able to be placed out here because there aren't 2 divots for it to go into. In that case, this would constitute the end of the round. Once everybody's done that, these will simply come back, and then the next player will be able to take the first one and be the active player, and we begin round 2. You go through 3 rounds of that, and then you tabulate your score, and then whoever has the highest score is the winner. So a couple of different things about how everything scores. First of all, these treasure spots have to be completely surrounded. Generally speaking, in order to get 10 points per spot that is completely surrounded by hexes that have been filled in. But treasure is also going to score based upon wherever our mission tile here is, and that is also true about all of the different places on the board, and we'll talk about each of them. So first of all, we'll talk about the mission tiles. So what the mission tiles here mean is that for every spot where you have a treasure that one of the sides is touched by this shape, that's going to give you a number of points equal to this diagram over here. So if one of these shapes is touching a treasure spot, then you'll get 3 points. But if 2 of them are touching a treasure spot, then you're going to get 6 points. If 3 of them, 10 points, and so forth and so on. This mission tile simply means that if an alien spot on the sheet is covered by one of these shapes, then you're going to get 3, 6, 10, so forth and so on for every shape of this that's covering one of those. This one is scored similarly for every one of these shapes that is touching the outer rim of a black hole. You're going to get that many points. And for every one of these shapes here that are covering an upgrade spot, then you're also going to get these points right here. The only one that's a little bit different is this one right here. And this is talking about a continuous cluster of that shape. So, for example, if you had 2 or if you had 3 of these moon-shaped clusters that are all touching each other on your board, then you're going to get 10 points. But if you only have 1, then you're going to get 3. If you have 2 and they're touching each other on one of the faces of those hexes, then you're going to score 6 points, so forth and so on. So this is just talking about a cluster of that shape. If you don't cover up these aliens spots, you're going to get minus 5 points for each alien spot that is not covered up by one of these different shapes. Now, another thing that you're going to score points for are these outer planet areas. And this is kind of a race mechanism. Whoever gets to these spots first get the highest point value, and then everybody else at the table have the ability to get the lower point total from these different spots. So only the first person to get out there first gets the higher point total. Everybody else has the ability to get the lower point total at that point from these 3 different spots. And you'll just write those in down here. Now, the last thing that we're going to talk about are these upgrade spots. And these upgrade spots are pretty cool. They don't give you any points at the end of the game, but during the game, they'll allow you to, if you cover them up, you can mark off these different upgrades. And there's 5 upgrades available. You can use up to 2 in one turn. And basically what it allows you to do is, if I have to put this shape onto my board somewhere, and I have an available upgrade spot, let's say I need to put it right here like this, but I can't cover those treasure spots. So what I would be able to do is use one of these upgrades, and then I can just act like this shape doesn't have that hex right here and still draw the other 3. So that's about that for Distant Suns. It's not a very difficult game. It's a very chill game as far as how you play and all that kind of thing. You might have a little bit of difficulty figuring out the best way to put all of those shapes onto your player sheet in order to score the most points efficiently, but that's really learning how to play the game. But some people might struggle with that if they aren't spatially minded or something to that effect, so there is a little bit of that. There isn't a whole lot that makes this different from other blank and write games. However, I do like specifically the choices that are in this one as compared to other blank and write games. For example, roll and write games, you're kind of left up to whatever you roll, and you might have some decision-making process after you make the roll, but generally speaking, it's very limited. With a flip and write game, there isn't hardly any decision making whatsoever. You just flip it and boom, you get to do whatever you can do with whatever got flipped. Not a whole lot of decision making process there. But with this one, I like the fact that you have a good number of decisions to make. Now, that might be a little intimidating on the front end of things for people who have not yet played these kinds of games. So beware of that. That decision-making process, while it might be very juicy and rewarding for gamers, might be a little bit intimidating for those that are playing it for the first time or might be new to games. So keep that in mind. But as far as everything is concerned, this is pretty much right down the middle of blank and write games with some interesting twists. So let's get to my pros and cons. I'm just going to get it out of the way. My first pro is going to be the artwork. I like the artwork. It has good artwork because it's Vincent Dutrait. I love Vincent Dutrait's artwork. So there you have it. Now, as far as the game's use of that artwork, it's on the lower end of things. I'll be honest with you about that. But I will say that it just has that thing. I don't know what it is about it. Just games that look better are more fun to play, and that definitely falls into that category. But honestly and truthfully, his artwork is used primarily on the box cover and in the rule book. The player sheets here don't have a whole lot of his artwork on it. I mean, it has his artwork on it, but it's more about graphic design at that point and the uses of those elements that he drew. So take that for what it's worth. It does have good artwork. It does look good on the table and all of that kind of stuff, but whatever. But it is a pro for me because I love Vincent Dutrait's artwork. My second pro is going to be the component quality. Now, this is just paper. Okay, big whoop. But you get a whole mess of these things. So they did not chintz on that factor. And these are all double-sided. So some of the ones that I used in the game here are previously used. But you can use the other side, and it's good to go. Moving on from that, I do like that all of the tiles are on a double layered board, so they're not going to move around a lot. Don't get me wrong, you can jostle the table, they will pop out and all that kind of stuff, but generally speaking, they're not gonna move as long as there's not a whole lot of upset going on. I like that little touch for the components, having that double-sided board for the tiles to sit in so they don't shift around and they don't move around. I really do like that. The cardboard tokens themselves are pretty thick, durable. You're not going to see a whole lot of damage on them because you're not really handling them that much during the course of the game either. So that's also good. These are neat. I think they're a cool way to choose what you want and what you're going to make everybody else fill into their thing. So again, nice quality, good components. The pencils are going to wear down sooner or later. You don't necessarily have to use pencils. I've been thinking about possibly putting in some markers because that will work. Markers are not necessary. I mean, of course, black markers are probably not going to work, but maybe highlighters, something like that. Highlighters would be pretty cool, and that would fit the space theme. Anyway, the pencils are, that's kind of the par for the course for blank and white games anyway. These little shape tokens are good. They're good for, kind of planning out where you want to put your thing. But I wish they would have come with a few more of them, especially in a 4-player game. You've got one person using one of them and 3 others waiting to use the other one. So it would have been cooler to have more of those shapes. As it is, the component quality is good, and that's my second pro. My third pro of the game is the one thing for me that makes this game a little bit different from all of those other blank and white games, and that is the fact that you're using these guys to choose what shape you want and what shape everybody else has to put on. And I like that tension, which is strange in a way, because there are other games that I don't like as much, because somebody else is choosing all of the time. And I don't always like that mechanism, but sometimes it hits a sweet spot. And I think this is one of those games where that mechanism, where one person is choosing what everybody else is going to be putting in, I like that. And I also like the fact that I'm choosing one for me. I get to do whatever I want to do, and then you have to do whatever else is secondary on my choice. I really like that tension in this game. Sometimes you have to make lemonade with the lemons that's been given to you, and sometimes that lemonade comes out tasting pretty stinking good. The last time that Jessie and I played, she kept sticking me with this 4-long piece of shape, and I'm like, what am I going to do? But I was able to. It just happened that the treasure mission tile was on that shape, so I was able to touch as many of those things with those shapes as I can, so it worked out. But it got a little frustrating during the course of the game. That's the kind of tension that I like, and that's the kind of tension that in this game I like. I don't necessarily like it in most games, but it works in this one because it's so fast, probably. So this choosing mechanism, I really enjoy that in this game. Now, my fourth pro is going to be the upgrade spots that you can cover in order to get upgrades that you can use to mitigate those choices that you're not making on everybody else's active player turns. And that's a necessary part of this game, I think. If you don't have the ability to mitigate the shapes that you're having to put onto your player sheet, that would make this game a little bit unfriendly, right? So I like the fact that those upgrade spots are out there and give you the ability to weather some of those. Well, that's definitely not the shape. That is the worst shape that I could have wanted to put. And it still gives you the ability to have a decision, have a choice in the matter, where you can use that shape. I really do think that that's great. And I think it's a needful part of it, because that can get a little dicey at times when somebody has chosen a shape that you just can't use very well. Those upgrades allow that lackluster shape to now have a little bit of luster to it. So I like those two teamed together. Another pro is going to be the short play time. It seemed, at first thought, 3 rounds doesn't seem like a whole lot of time. And it isn't. As a matter of fact, it seems like not enough time, but it is. And that's one of the cool things about it. It plays very fast. I think 30 minutes is the top for this round, because you're basically choosing 4 or 5 things that you're going to fill onto your board, taking them all out, and then doing it again. And you're going to do that 3 times, then you score your points at the end. So that's really a simple framework to have some fun in. And so the brevity of playtime is really a strong suit for this game, and I think it's a pro. Unfortunately, I do have a single con, and that is scoring. Scoring takes a little bit longer than I feel like it should, and I don't feel like there's a real way to mitigate any of that time during the game, because You don't know how many of these different shapes that you're going to be able to cover or touch or use these different elements with until the end of the game. So there's no way to really score things during the game. You have to do all of that tabulation at the end, which sometimes you could spend probably, especially in a shorter game like this one, you could spend a third of the time, maybe a quarter of the time that you played the game counting your score or tabulating your score. That puts a little bit of a anticlimactic blah at the end of the game when you have to figure out how everything's going and who won. So it's a minor con, but it is still a con because it's one of those things where when you have 4 people in the game, you're spending time helping everybody tabulate their scores. That will probably go away more than likely the more times you play it, but just realize that it's there, especially if you're teaching it a lot to new players and you have to basically walk everybody through how everything's scored. It's going to take a little bit longer than you probably want to, but I think overall it's worth it. Just realize that it does sap a little bit of your time just figuring out who won at the end of the game, but that's about it. So all in all, I'm going to give this one, as blank and rights go, I'm going to give this one pretty high marks. I'm going to give it a 7 out of 10 because I really do enjoy this. I like spatial organization. I like tile placement, if you want to put it that way, because that's basically what you're doing. You're placing these different tile shapes onto your player sheet to cover up as much of it as possible. I do like grid coverage as a mechanism as well. So there's a lot here that I like. There is, the things that are kind of weighing on it a little bit, and that is, taking a little bit longer than I wanted it to tabulate scores and that kind of stuff. And some of my love-hate relationship with the main mechanism that I did really enjoy in this with the choice mechanism, but I think that this is a good game, and it's well enough to be given a 7 in my opinion. As far as roll and rights, choose and rights, flip and rights, whatever. Those blank and right games, this one is pretty stinking fun, and so that's why it's getting a 7 out of 10 from me. Thanks for joining me. I certainly appreciate it. We'll see you guys and gals on the flip side. Take care.
Hey everybody, thanks for watching this video. If you like this review or whatever you just watched, wasn't it amazing? Check out our channel, Dice Tower. We have all kinds of things. We review games, we do top 10s, we play games live. It's all about board games, but especially the people who play them. Check out Dice Tower YouTube channel.